Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Marvel Legendary What If. This is the second video we are doing. The first one we kind of went through the rule books and how to play the game in case you weren't familiar, since this is a core set. This video I'm actually going to go through. I've set up some kind of sample gameplay. Just an example on how to play through a turn or what a turn's going to look like. The first part we'll go through starting out brand new, like as if I just started the game, and then a little bit later I'll switch into like as if I've been playing a while, so you can kind of see what some more different combos and stuff look like. And then you guys can check out the third part of the video where I actually go through each individual card. You can see what everything is like. Alright, let's jump into this. Alright, so I set up a little bit of a sample game. I did kind of stack the decks a little bit, but I'm going to do two different things. We're going to do kind of like beginning of early game. This is me starting out brand new. I have my deck of 12 cards, starter sets. And then I'm going to jump forward into, like, let's say I had a deck built and kind of see what can happen. So I'm not going to maybe necessarily read through every single thing. I'm going to try and play the effects as best as I can from just my quick knowledge, which more or less this is the idea of how a turn should go. So we start out, we have our, sorry about the glare and not having everything be able to see, but we have our scheme out, we have our mastermind, we have our deck, wounds, bystanders, we have our 5 HQ cards we've drawn from the top of the deck. Now, as you can see, we have various costs here. We have a 6 cost, a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 4. So the 6 might not be very purchasable right away unless we get super lucky. But we can buy some of the other different cards. We have some of the different characters. We have our villain deck. So at the beginning of our first turn, we're going to do is draw our 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to look at them and see what we have available. We have a Coulson, or an agent, a trooper, an agent. So I usually like to reshuffle my cards so I know. So I got 5 buy power, 1 attack power. So the first thing we want to do on the turn is flip over our first villain. We're going to have one of the Giants of Jotunheim. So it has the attack of 3, so I need 3 to fight it. It has ambush. Each player discards the top 3 cards of their deck, and I can fight them, I can discard it. So what happens there is now I have to discard 3 cards off of my deck, so I'm only leaves me 3 left. First, going to discard them. So I lost 2 more recruits and the attacks. Now, losing my 2 recruits isn't terrible. Losing my attack isn't good because I only get 4 attack to begin the game with. So my first one I drew 1, so I would have drawn my other 3, which means I could have taken out the giant on my next turn. Now I might not be able to because I did discard that. And I just have a discard pile and that stuff down here. Again, I'm not going to be able to show all of this on one board. Or one camera. My camera's just not big enough for that. Alright, so that's my turn. Now, again, you can play these cards in any order. Beginning of the turn, I have 1 attack. That does me absolutely nothing. I can either opt to just play it, I have an attack card down, or I can keep holding it in my hand. I typically, because there's very few times you're not going to play a card, even if you can't use it. Like, there's never going to be a penalty of being like, oh, I have 3 attack, and there's nothing with 3 attack I can take out because everything's higher, or I don't have enough recruit, or I have 10 recruit, but I don't want to buy anything. There's no penalty to generally ever having cards still in your hand at the end of your turn, because you're going to discard them anyhow. Sometimes it's worth playing. So I have my 5 recruit points, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what I have are some various options. I could recruit the 4 cost card. I could recruit a 3 cost card and a 2 cost card. I could recruit the 2 and 2 cost card. Or I could recruit one of these 2 and recruit one of my 3 shield officers. Now, early on in the game, I'm probably going to probably want some more attacks so I can start taking out guys. But I'm also going to want maybe some recruit points. And the other thing is to kind of decide what you want to sort of synergize together. So if I take this Captain Carter card here, which you can't see because of the glare, it lets me draw a card, which is always nice. also has a covert ability. So that would work really well if I got the other covert card. They could potentially link up together. Or I could get another attack, which gives me some other different attack cards. Or I could get another +1. What I'm going to do, though, is since I know I can, if I buy the 3, I know I can also buy one of these 2. So I'm going to buy this Gamora card here, which lets me draw 2 cards and put 1 card from my hand on top of my deck. But it's going to get me an extra attack, so that might be helpful. Now, what it does is this goes into my discard pile. And I have spent 3 recruits. You can kind of separate 3 recruits off to the side. What I do is, and I don't have these out right now, I actually have little tiny cubes I use of like yellow for recruit, red for attack. And actually, once I build up the end of my turn, I'm done playing cards, or I play a card that gives me 2 recruit or 2 attack, I put little cubes out. And then once I spend them, I can move them off the table. So I don't have to keep rearranging all my cards, especially when they start having to be played in a specific order. It's nice to be able to know, hey, I played this, I'm done with that, I can just ignore them. But that's my own house rule. So now what happens, because I have an empty hole here, I draw my next card. I drew another 2. So now I have the option of playing one of these 3 2s. Now this also gets me some attack power, potentially. Also works with covert if I would like to do that as well. So that gets me some other different options there. I'm going to do is actually purchase the Captain Carter. It gives me the Liberate ability. Liberate 3, which is one of the new keywords, which I don't remember off the top of my head what that did. Let me just check it quick to make sure I say that right, if I can find it in the book here. Okay, Liberate means I get +3 attack, but it's only usable against villains holding bystanders or the Mastermind. So, looking at that means it's only useful if I get the bystander. Otherwise, this has 0 attack to begin with, but it has a potential to plus to gain more attack. But I like the ability to draw a card right away, so that's not bad at all. But that wouldn't be bad if there are more bystanders out there, or if I was fighting the Mastermind. So later fighting the Mastermind, that'd be super helpful. So I think early on, I'm just going to grab this Fight or Flight from Scarlet T'Challa, because it potentially gets me an extra attack, because it has Empowered by Strength or Empowered by Covert. Empowered means I get +1 attack for each of those card types in the HQ. So right now, if I play this on my next turn, I could either gain 1 or 1 for each one of these. So it's not super helpful right at the moment, but it's 1 extra attack power. So we're going to go ahead and we will purchase that. That was all 5 of our attack point, or our recruit points. We are done, but now we will flip that over. But, we got number 4, we got a 4 cost one. So that's going to make my next player that goes is going to have some different options to play. But now, as you can see, that's the benefit of taking your time to buy stuff. I could have just played 2 recruit points, bought the 2 recruit point card, then played the rest of my cards. Or you can play everything, see what you have at the end, then spend all your points. The only reason why you might want to wait to spend points later is if you have something that might potentially change what your hand or what you get later on, or what's going in your deck. So for an example would be is I just bought a bunch of cards. They went in my discard pile. If I had something that let me draw cards and my deck didn't have enough cards to draw, I would get to recycle my hand, or recycle my deck and then potentially draw them. So if I had a way to draw, if I only had 1 card in my deck and I had to draw 2 cards, I would draw the first one, shuffle my discard, all them cards I purchased would now be in my deck to potentially draw. So that might be worth playing that card, doing that, but it might even be worth playing 2 recruit points before that, recruiting a new card, throwing it in my discard pile like I just did, then play the draw card. Now that card comes in there, and I potentially might have more things before I spend the rest of my points, as opposed to doing it at the very end, recruiting that last, and then getting a card that, that would have given me an extra recruit point to buy a bigger card later. Alright, so now if we set this up for turn 2, all of these cards are going to go to my discard. I'm going to draw 6 new cards. Well, I draw my 3 from my deck. We were just talking about this. I don't have any more cards, so now I shuffle. You only shuffle when you have to draw. You never shuffle beforehand. So even if for some reason your deck runs out, if you don't have to draw any more cards, your discard pile stays there. That way, every card you gain afterwards goes into your discard pile. Now, typically, I wouldn't have a villain that made me lose cards, so I would have just drawn my other 6 starter cards. But because I got that ambush, this is actually kind of nice. I have a potential to draw. Now, these aren't probably the best shuffle, but I don't have sleeves, so I'm trying to be careful with my cards. So I drew my next 3 cards. So let's see what we got for turn 2. So I didn't draw any of my special cards. But what that means is I'm probably going to get them next turn. But I did, however, get 3 recruit, and I got 3 attack power. So that could definitely help. Now, if I'm playing solo, there's other different little rules or stuff that have happened during this turn. If I'm playing multiplayer, other players may have bought cards, and some of these may have switched out. But I'm just going to show what happened during the next turn. So my next turn, before I slide him over, I want to reveal the top card. It is a 4-cost Zombie Wong, who has an ambush effect as well. It says Rise of the Living Dead. Rise of the Living Dead has you check the top card of your victory pile. If it's a villain with the Rise of the Dead, that villain re-enters the city. So it's zombies coming back into play. So that slides him over to the bank. He goes into the sewer. Now I have 2 villains to fight. Alright, it is my turn. So what I can do is I can play my 3 attack, play my 3 recruit. I can either attack the giant and try and take him out, or I could go ahead and recruit a card first. So what I want to do is see what his effect says. It says, you may KO a gray hero from your discard pile. So now, although I can take him out this turn, the question is, do I want to? If I do, that fight effect does nothing. If I wait, after my next turn, there should be a gray card in there. I could get rid of one of my cards to make my deck stronger. Now, early on in the game, this is one of the things you have to really decide, because I just purchased 2 cards that had attack power, potential attack power. So I could get rid of my attack, but I only have 4, so I don't know if I want to get rid of that. What I could do, however, is I have 3 recruit points. So this is an interesting, good strategy after that. I'm going to purchase my shield officer here, who has 2 recruit points. He's going to go to my discard pile. I'm not going to attack anything. Because if I attack now, I'd have to get rid of my shield officer I just played. So I'm going to end my turn. Stick all those guys in my discard pile. Draw my 6 new cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which now we get, I got 3 new recruit. I got 3 more shield agents, so I can do some more recruiting with them. I drew both of my attack cards, so I should hopefully have enough attack to be able to do something. But what we'll do is turn 3, we'll draw the next card. We drew a Steam Twist. So no one moves, but now we have to activate the Steam Twist ability, which says, for this card, each player reveals their hand. Start the current player, then clockwise the first player to have this kind of hero in their hand, or in the discard pile next to the Steam. First player to have one of this kind of hero in their hand or discard pile stacks it next to the Steam stolen for the zoo. So the first one, they're looking for a strength card. So this is what sucks about the way this game works sometimes. I love the game. Just not bad. So first player, I reveal my hand. I have 1 strength card. I now lose that. That goes into the stack up here. So if we look up in the far top corner, there's some extra piles here. We'll stack that over there just to keep track of that. So now they have captured that T'Challa for the zoo. Which means now I just lost that card that I was hoping on. So what I was hoping to do initially was have my 3 attack. By this, I was going to get rid of one of my gray agent cards. But because that happened, I lost one of my really good cards right off the bat. But how was I supposed to know there was going to be one of those? What are the chances I bought that? If I would have bought in this 2 card over here instead, I wouldn't have had a strength card. So that's what happened. So I will play my 3 recruit cards down. Let me zoom my camera back down over here. I'll play my 1 attacks. It doesn't matter. They're basic cards. It doesn't matter really what order I play them. But now I have Tactical Insight from Gamora, Destroyer of Thanos. I have 1 extra attack, which only gets me 2 total. But it does say draw 2 cards, then put a card from my hand on top of my deck. So what I have to do, though, to be able to play this, though, I have to be able to do that effect. So if I played all these, I can't actually play this card because I can't complete the effect to do it. So what I have to decide here is, if we pick all my cards back up, start of my turn, I have to decide if I want to draw 2 cards, which I know are, which I could calculate what they're going to be. I have, I have 2 cards left in my deck. I have 2 of my troopers on my deck, and I have 1 in my hand. Or sorry, I have 3 of my shields, or my shield troopers. So I know both of my cards are going to be recruit cards. So I can draw 2, but I know I'm going to have to put 1 of these back on top of my deck. Technically, I don't actually have to. I could play everything and just put 1 of those 2 cards back on my deck. But there's my option. If I play this now, I have the full access to all my cards to choose to put which one back on top of my deck. If I play all these first and then play this, I have to play 1 of those 2 cards. So it is playable, it just depends. But I'm only going to have 2 recruit no matter what. Or 2 attack no matter what. Which means I can't fight anything. So my best option is to play her, draw these 2 cards, that's my recruit cards, put my attack card back on top of my deck. Now I will draw that at the beginning of my next turn. So I can't attack anyhow. But it gave me 2 more recruit points. So now I have 5 recruit points. So we want to recruit something big. Now, still can't buy my 6 cost over here, but I can do I can do both of the 2s. Or I could go for 1 of the 4s. And now you can see, I'm running out of points to recruit, but I also know I'm only going to for sure draw 1 attack card. So I could try and boost up my attack some more. I could add another Gamora card, which lets me gain extra attack if I draw a card that turn, so that would work well with the other card. I could get this Captain Carter to get +1 for each different printed attack number amongst all heroes you have. Well, so far all my attacks only have 1. So that's not really useful for right now, as I don't have any other different attack numbers. And I could get +1 recruit for each different villain in my victory pile. I don't have any, so it's only a +1 at the time. So my best bet, I think, is to purchase this level 4, lose the extra recruit card. All of these go to my discard pile. We flip over our next card. Now we have a level 8 Gamora. So that one, I'm definitely not going to be able to purchase anytime soon. But then we draw our 1 card. We shuffle our cards back up. And we see what we have for turn 4. But now you can definitely see where the timing of this game gets. If you know what all the abilities do, you have an idea of what the characters do. Game can go pretty quick. But now again, there's like 20 plus expansions. You start adding random characters from each different expansion. It might take a while for you to memorize which one does what. Alright, so we have to draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, I'm not shuffling these very well, so I'm probably not going to get a very good hand. But I got 1 more attack card, so I can add that. So I only got 2 attacks. That didn't help me. I only got 4 recruit. So I got a really bad hand again. But it does, that's the way this game works. But it also means now my next hand, I'm probably going to get lots of them other ones. So what do we got next? We drew Pepper Potts. So we just drew a bystander. So she just goes under Zombie Wong. He's trying to eat her. But now I don't have to deal with an extra threat. So that's kind of a nice thing there. No cities move, no steam twist, no plot twist, none of that terrible stuff. But we only have 2 attacks, so that doesn't help me. But we have 4 recruit. So again, we get an option of what to recruit. Again, I could get the 4 cost, or I could get some of those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the hunt. I'm going to get the Captain Carter Relentless. I just have 1 card that works off drawing, 1 that lets me draw. This will definitely help me draw another card. And I get to replace that with another Uatu. Ooh, interesting. Diverging Time Streams. Draw a card, then put a card from the hand on top of your deck. If I have another red, I get a +1. Well, I already have 2 reds, and I like drawing cards. This is definitely good to do. Now, here's the thing, though. I keep buying these 2-cost cards that let me keep drawing cards and doing this. Not bad, making my deck better. If I'm playing a 4-player game, I want to make sure I save some of these cheap cards for my teammates to buy as well. I don't want to keep buying all of them, and then they don't have anything. But I have 4 recruits. We will buy this, and we will replace that with another Uatu. Interesting. So I discard. I would reshuffle. And I'm going to end this turn here as the base play, but I just want to see what we'd have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in this turn, we would have had my Nick Fury finally. So that would give me 2 recruit points, plus another shield agent, which would have given me my 3rd recruit point, potentially. We had 2 attack points. But then we also drew the 2 different Gamoras. So this says draw 2 cards, put one of them at the top or bottom, or the top of your deck. And then just +1 for each card I drew this turn. Now, if I had my other drawing card, I could even plan on putting one of those back on top and then drawing it, so I get it right back. But I don't have that. But I want to try and get my maximum amount of attack this turn. I have 3 recruit points, which isn't bad. But what I'm going to do first... So if I want to play this turn, we'll just go ahead and play this. We have a neat turn. We got a Corvus Slave empowered by 5 or more cards. So he gets 2 attack for each card. So for each hero that costs 5 or more, Corvus Slave captures a bystander. So there's 2, so he would capture 2 bystanders. So then they just come from the deck over here. We scoot everything out. And he's normally 3, which isn't bad. But he gets +1 for each 5. So he's actually a 5-cost character. So you have a 5, a 4, and a 3. Alright, so for my turn, we're going to draw 2 cards. Now, here's the difference. Alright, well, I'm going to draw my 2 cards. We only have 2 cards, or I have 3 cards in my deck. So we drew 2 more recruit cards. So that did not help me with my attack. But now I have to put 1 card back on my deck. So now what I can determine here is... how much attack do I have? I have 1, 2. I drew 2 cards, so 3, 4. So I can play that. I know I have I'll have 4. I could have 5 and 6. If I put these 2 down. But since the most I can do is either 5 or 4, I don't really need 6 recruit points. I could try and attack Hank Pym, but I know I'm not going to be able to. So rather than putting these guys away, I'm going to put one of these back on top of my deck. Because I only need the 5 points at most to take out Corvus Slave. And then I have 2, 3, 4, 5 recruit points. So I'm still sitting just below being able to buy that Doctor Strange to be good. So I'd like some more card drawing ability for my deck. So I can keep buying some more stuff. So I think we will do is for this, we will we'll go ahead and buy this for 2. Put down, we have a 5 cost one. So that would have given us 3 left. I could either buy this T'Challa for another one, or I could buy a Nick Fury, which gets me 2 extra points instead, which might not be bad either. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll buy a Nick Fury. And that's our 3 cards. And then we'll spend our attack to defeat Corvus Glaive. So now all these guys go to my victory pile. So now if I had bought this T'Challa, I would have gotten 1 extra recruit point anyhow. So then it would have been worth 2, which is the same as Nick Fury. So that would have actually been a better purchase for me, but maybe I was saving that for another player or something else. Alright, so that's where I have... I'm going to just take all of these cards off the table. And then we're going to grab a brand new deck of cards here. Which have, like, let's say I've been playing the game for a while. And we're going to see what we have if we just went from this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just to see up maybe a more advanced run. I did not stack these, so I don't know what we're all going to have. So, beginning of my next turn, we drew a Thanos. Look at that, 12 cost. So he's going to be a lot harder. Now this, again, could have came first card of the deck. So this is why the game can get really difficult. He has -2 for each other rival overlord that's in a city or a mastermind. So there are no other rival overlord groups. So there's still 12, but if more come out, he'll get cheaper and cheaper. If he escapes, he extends to become the new mastermind. So if he gets out, he gets out of the city, I have to defeat him as well, and he costs 12 to beat. He could potentially get weaker if more guys are out, but that could make him this game a lot harder. So let's see if obviously might not, I don't know if we can defeat him or not. We'll see what we have in our hand here. So yeah, we have a couple of different abilities here. So we have some simple recruit cards. We have another Dimension Crumble, which says What If, which lets me guess a name of a character or card, see if it's on my deck. No, the problem is because I just randomly shove cards in there. I have no idea what's in my deck. We have Fight or Flight, which lets us get that empowered ability. I have 2 strength cards, so I can definitely get empowered by that. So let's play that one first. So we're going to get 2... let's see, because we have a green card in here. We do not have a green card, so we can't get the other ability. And we don't have anything that draws, do we? No. Okay, so we're going to play that. We have 2 attack power, 1 for each of these. We have no tech cards, so we're going to play this one, getting extra 3, so we're up to 5. We're going to play Uatu. We're going to guess Instinct, so a yellow card. So I look at the top card of my deck. If it's yellow, I may KO a card from my hand or discard pile. It was not yellow. Alright, so I can put him back on my deck. We're going to leave that. So we only have 5 attack power. We have 2 recruit. We have another 3 here, but I must put a card from my hand on top of my deck. We'll just put our Coulson back on there. And then we have another one of that. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 recruit points. And not enough to buy Gamora, which would have been really great. But I could buy this Doctor Strange over here. Or I have 5. 6, 7. I could buy these 2 here, which actually might not be a bad idea either. But yeah, I like this Doctor Strange. Really, the top 3 cards of your deck, draw one of them, KO one, put one back. So that might help very well. So we're going to go ahead and purchase that. And with our 5 points, we're going to defeat Zombie Wong, which says if I fight him with the top 2 cards of your deck, draw one, put the other one back. Oh, so this is kind of interesting. Because what I could have done here is instead, let's put this back. We're going to fight him first. With the top 2 cards of my deck, draw one, put the other one back. Draw 2. We're going to grab this one because we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to draw that. We're going to put this one back for next turn. This now is in our hand. We can put this down. I have 8 points. I can buy this giant Gamora now. So that's pretty cool. And then this has 5 attack, which is really cool. Has Soulbound, so if I play a character with that. So this works, like the team ones work really well if you're playing a team with all the characters. But if you mix and match different teams, those abilities become weaker. Soulbound, 6 villains. You get infinite attack usable only in a single fight. So if I had defeated 6 villains already when I play this card, and I play a Guardian of the Multiverse first, I have infinite attack, which means I can defeat any character. So that's actually really crazy, but Soulbound means I have to look at my villain deck, or my victory pile, flip over 6 villain cards. So I only use it once for every 6 villains. So it's definitely really awesome that one time it hits. But hitting it 2 times in a game, maybe. Hitting it 3, 4 times, probably not going to happen. Unless you're having one person just be the attacker. But still, that's not bad. Even still, I get 5 attack to begin with, so I can use 5 later. We also had a Pepper Potts. And you rescue this bystander, you get +1 star if the bank is empty, and +1 if the rooftops are empty. Well, we just emptied the banks, but the rooftop is empty. So it only gets me 1 star, which doesn't help me, because I don't have any other ones. Now, alternatively, knowing that I was, saw this card, I could have got that. I could have chose not to get this Coulson, used him instead, and I could have drew this T'Challa instead, and I could have played him for the 2 and used Pepper as my 1 extra to buy Gamora. And I could have used What If. I could have guessed, let's say, Strength card. I drew a Strength card. Now I get this card in my hand. I have 5 Recruit now. Plus I have him, which has 3. I have played a Strength card already, so I get +1 for each different villain group in my victory pile, which I have at least 1 for sure for defeating Wong. So that could be another 4 attacks. So with another 4 attack, I could defeat the Giants and get rid of a gray card if I had one in my discard pile. So that's definitely one thing I'm doing. I have 5 Recruit. I could flip this over. Ooh, we have the T'Challa one for 7. With 5 Recruit, I could go ahead and recruit one of these as well. Yeah, so a bunch of different options there. I'm not going to go back through every single thing, but if we went to our next turn, our next one would have been our Master Strike, which would have then hit, which would have each player puts 3 0-cost cards from their discard pile on top of their deck. So if I would have done that at this point, with what I currently had in my discard pile, I have no 0-cost cards in my discard pile, because this would have been my hand from the previous turn. So that Master Strike actually wouldn't have affected me, because this late in the game, I'd gotten rid of most of my gray cards. So that's basically the gameplay of how it can go. See, from the beginning, struggling to get rid of some of these guys, to like that, I just did a massive turn where I was able to take out potentially 2 different guys, bought like 3 different cards, dealt with some different stuff. Even though, yeah, it can go good or bad depending on what order these guys come in, because they're all just randomly stuck together. But there's some villain groups that are easier than others. If you're finding it hard to beat the game, take out a villain group, add in another group of henchmen, or just add in another group of henchmen. 10 extra cards are kind of slowly milk that deck out a little bit more. Stuff like that. One other rule I didn't really go over, just to bring it up. They add in the game as you're playing 4 or 5 players, is they have a warm-up phase where you're supposed to not draw a villain on your first turn, so that everyone has basically 1 free recruit phase. I play the game 2 different ways. Either 1, if I'm playing just that way, I do 2 rounds of recruiting. And I do that because then when the first villain is drawn, you are now drawing cards. Your discard pile, you went through your deck once, so now anything you're drawing first time is potential to draw anything you've actually recruited. So you're actually starting the game with the possibility of possibly one of the 2 cards you bought, whether even if it's just like the Nick Fury officer, or if it's one of your other heroes. So I like doing that, because in that way everyone starts off potentially the first time a villain comes with more than just the basic cards. Because yeah, if you drew like, that Corvus Glaive, who could be 5 off the first turn, you only have 4 attack on your first turn. Or even the Giants, you only have 3 attack on your first turn. If you draw 2 attack on one turn, 2 on the next turn, there's no way you can defeat him in the first 2 turns. And since you have 4 players, if it goes all the way around and no one can defeat him that first turn, so just to kind of point that out. So if it's like you get your first round, everyone gets to go, then everyone has a second round where they're drawing. So first you get this second turn, third turn, fourth turn. So now it kind of gets back to the first player and you're finally able to draw cards you purchased. You could potentially already have this guy up here in the city or in the streets, and he's a level 3. If you haven't, no one's been able to get 3 of their 4 attack cards, he's almost out of the city before you're even getting your good cards. And then there's even that high possibility that now, let's say you only recruited 2 cards, you only recruited 2 cards during each of those phases. You draw 6 cards. You could draw another 6 cards full of basic cards. And that could happen to all 4 players. So your characters might escape before you even have another attack. So I personally like to do 2 full warm-up rounds if I'm playing that way. What I actually do nowadays is I go through, I find a hero that would kind of fit either the theming, if I'm playing the theming of the characters, or some of them will work, and I take one of the common cards that you have 4 copies of. So this set doesn't have that because your common cards only have 3. But I usually pick a 2-cost card with like the simplest ability, and give it to all the players to start with. So everyone starts with 1 extra card in their deck. And what does that do, you ask? So what that does is your first turn, you draw a card. So your first turn, you draw your 6 cards, and now I have 7 cards left in my deck. But at least give me an opportunity. But I usually try and pick something that has like a draw card ability. So like in this set, maybe I might potentially give like 1 or 2 of the players, if I'm playing a 4-player game, give them Relentless. Cost 2, has Liberate. Liberate's not going to do me a whole lot of good right off the bat, but gives me a little extra bonus ability, but lets everyone draw a card. So this means I draw my first 6 cards. So if my starting hand is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let me find another one. 6. If this is my first starting hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like, I don't have enough attack to defeat anything. I only have 2 attack. I only have 3 recruit, so I can recruit a small card. But I did draw a card. So now I've drawn one of my other cards, right? So that means I would have currently had 7 cards in my deck. And now I'm drawing up the other ones. Now there's back down to 6 cards. But it might give me that 1 extra recruit or 1 extra attack to do something. And if I don't draw it on my first turn, so if I draw my first hand and I get 6 cards, this is where it becomes a little bit more fun, right? I draw my first 6. My second one, I draw my next 6. If I get this in my next hand, I get to draw my 1 card. My deck is already empty then by my second turn anyhow. But I have a potential to get an extra card, do some extra stuff. It's not bad. I like to just add that. Like, I'll add, like, Jubilee in there, or lots of times I'll add, like, a Spider-Man card, just because Spider-Man's, like, teams up with everybody, so it kind of works. But I like to give everyone the same extra card, so the deck stays the same. But I can even see if you want to play with a way to, like, give everyone different cards. Like, you could have someone be Captain Carter, you could have someone start with Gamora. Like, this set, it draws a card, but it gets you potentially 2. If you want to lean into that red color. You have to watch some of them, like this one might be a little bit too powerful just to start compared to drawing a card. Because if you guess what it is, you automatically get 2 attack versus the other guys don't get any attack. So it is a potential way to do. The other thing they do recommend is you could always, too, if you want to, you could swap out some of your Shield Agent cards for these cards to start with an extra 2-cost card in there as well. That's something you could do as well. So there's other different ways you can change the game up to make it a little bit easier on yourself. And I definitely recommend doing that. The game seems hard. Do something to help it. If, like, you're pulling out too high of villains right off the bat, stack the deck a little bit. Don't cheat and stack. I looked at and put stuff in certain orders, but separate the villain deck, into like multiple piles. Like separate it into like 4 piles of like so many cards, and then maybe shuffle like your 5 twists and shuffle it into 5 piles or something. Maybe put your Steam Twists or Master Strikes, put 1 in each pile. So then you know that like in the first set there's like, let's say there's 10 cards per pile and you have a 50 card and there's 5 decks, right? You know that somewhere in the first 10 cards you're gonna hit your Master Strike. But you know that in that first 10 set of cards you won't hit 3 of them. So you're a little bit safe that way. You can do the same thing with the twist. If you have 5 piles, in this team we have 11 cards, you could put 1 in the first pile. Then you might hit 1 in the first 10 cards. Then maybe put 2 in the second pile, 3 in the next 2 piles. So you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have maybe put the 4th one in the last pile if you want to just kind of make it so the game is going to get harder. So, as you get later in the game, if you haven't won, you're going to start hitting them twists a lot quicker. But it also is a way to keep you from all of a sudden hitting all your stuff too early on. You can even do that with some of the villains, like we had some of them higher cost villains like Thanos and stuff. They start costing just like some 5s and 6s, but we have some 8s and stuff. You could even semi-sort these cards out. Take like the 8 different cards you have from each set, kind of place them in order from like lowest power to highest power, and you have 8 and go 2, 2, 2, and 2, like do 4 decks that way. And then like the first deck you'll hit 2 of them, but at this rank. Second deck you'll hit 2 at this spot. The only downside to doing that though is that if you start separating the villains out too much, is yes, the deck is progressively going to get harder, which might make the game very fun that way. But it also means if any of them have abilities that trigger off of other characters are looking for in the deck, you're going to hit them less. Like the zombies all have Rise of the Living Dead. They're basically more powerful if they have other zombies that have been defeated. So if you've defeated the first 2 right away, and you might have somewhere between 10 to 20 cards before you find another one, they're not going to be as bad. But, it's definitely an interesting way to do it. Doesn't recommend doing any of that in the rule book, but there is the Legendary Encounters game, which follows more like movies like Alien, Predator, Firefly. In that decks, they actually build your decks that way. They have them built so they get stronger as you go along. So the game gets harder because you have more powerful villains as you go along. So and this might be a different way to do that. Alright, so that's what we have for What If. Kind of a how to play, a little bit long video. Check out the next video I have in here, and we'll kind of go through all the cards. You can see what everything is, see if you like these characters. It's interesting to pick up. Also, check out the other Legendary games if you are interested. See you guys later. Bye.